The Switch 2 is giving new life to some of the best first-person shooters from the OG Switch. Games that once struggled with frame drops and long load times now run smoother, sharper, and far more stable. Metroid Prime Remastered is already looked and played great on the original Switch, but really shines on the new Switch 2 hardware. This classic sci-fi adventure gets even smoother performance, faster loading times, and a sharper presentation overall. On Switch 1, it ran at a solid 60 frames per second with dynamic resolution, around 900p docked and about 600p handheld. Now on Switch 2, players are reporting an even steadier frame rate and almost no drops at all. The only small drawback is that handheld mode can appear a bit blurry due to upscaling, but docked mode looks crisp and consistent. Doom Eternal is an intense, fast-paced shooter that really pushes hardware to its limits. On the Switch 1, Panic Button's port managed to deliver the full experience at a locked 30 frames per second, with dynamic resolution scaling usually around 720p docked and lower in handheld mode, while still keeping gameplay surprisingly smooth. On the new Switch 2, players are noticing a clear boost, smoother performance, faster load times, and far fewer frame drops even during chaotic battles. The extra power also helps maintain better image quality, reducing the heavy resolution shifts that were common before.
On the path to a brighter tomorrow.
Who is that? We're arriving!
Metroid 2033 Redux is a dark, atmospheric, first-person survival shooter that takes you deep into the post-apocalyptic tunnels of Moscow, where every bullet and flashlight battery counts. On the original Switch, this version of the game held a solid 30 frames per second in both docked and handheld modes, running at 1080p docked and 720p portable, which was already impressive for such a demanding title. But on the Switch 2, players are reporting smoother gameplay, faster load times, and far fewer frame stutters. While the Switch 1 version could occasionally dip or hesitate during heavy action, the added power of the Switch 2 keeps things much more stable.
Then on my mark we throw the switches.
Something's out there.
Something's closing in. Ignore it. Fire!
Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is a bold, story-driven first-person shooter packed with cinematic action, intense firefights, and a dark alternate history setting. On the Switch 1, the game was an impressive technical feat but came with clear compromises, running at 30 frames per second with dynamic resolution and noticeable drops during heavy action, especially in handheld mode where things could get quite blurry. Now on the Switch 2, the difference is clear. The frame rate feels much more consistent, load times are faster, and the visuals stay sharper thanks to less aggressive resolution scaling. Crysis Remastered is an ambitious first-person shooter known for pushing graphics and performance to the edge, earning its legendary can-it-run Crysis reputation. On the Switch 1, the game delivered an impressive portable version, but often struggled to maintain stability with noticeable frame drops, stuttering, and dynamic resolution shifts during heavy combat or open environments. On the Switch 2, though, the difference is immediately noticeable. The improved hardware delivers much smoother performance, faster load times, and fewer drops in demanding scenes.
Let's go here.
Time to drop, shock, and rock. Attention.
Apex Legends is a high-speed, squad-based battle royale where movement, aiming, and frame stability make or break your match. On the original Switch, it ran, but players often saw dips, stutters, and inconsistencies in busy areas. So while it technically hit the target, it wasn't always smooth. Now here's the kicker. Apex officially received a Switch 2 upgrade. On Switch 2, the game now runs much more cleanly, with a stable 60 frames per second and improved resolutions in both docked and handheld modes. Load times are faster, frame pacing is steadier, and the visuals hold up far better under pressure.
Deploying me knuckle cluster.
Let's go that way.
Spotted a clown over
Go
there.
here. Going you in.
Deploying me knuckle cluster. Reloading.
Is colloquially known as a screw.
Void Bastards is a stylish comic book-inspired sci-fi shooter that blends roguelike strategy with fast-paced first-person combat. You control a group of convicts navigating derelict spaceships, scavenging supplies, and taking down enemies with a mix of tactics and quick reflexes. On the original Switch, the game targeted 60 frames per second but wasn't always stable. Frame drops and minor stutters could appear during heavy action or in larger areas. On the Switch 2, however, that performance becomes rock solid, holding a locked 60 frames per second throughout. Doom 3 is one of those classic horror shooters that still holds up incredibly well. On the Switch one, it already ran decently, but the performance could dip here and there, especially when things got intense. On the new hardware, though, the difference is immediately noticeable. The game loads faster, stays locked at smoother frame rates, and looks sharper overall. One cool thing worth trying is heading into the options menu and turning on dynamic shadows for the flashlight. They look amazing and really enhance the mood, and best of all, it doesn't tank the performance anymore. Bright Memory Infinite is a stylish, high-speed action shooter that mixes gunplay, sword combat, and supernatural abilities in a cinematic sci-fi world. You play as Shelia, taking down enemies with lightning-fast combos that blend shooting and melee into one smooth flow. On the Switch one, the game aimed for 30 frames per second but often dipped during heavy combat, causing noticeable stutters and uneven pacing. On the Switch 2, the difference is huge. It now runs at a stable 60 frames per second, making every slash shot and dodge feel buttery smooth. Load times are faster, and the visuals look sharper with less resolution drop. Prodeus kicks off with in-your-face action, retro-style visuals, and fast, aggressive combat. On the original Switch, Prodeus was playable, but performance could be shaky during chaotic scenes, with minor frame dips and inconsistent pacing. Now, on the Switch 2, players are seeing a much more stable experience. The game holds a solid 60 frames per second throughout, even in intense encounters, making the action feel sharper, smoother, and more responsive.
Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please leave a like and subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to get notified when we release new content. We hope to see you in the next video.